Your soul left your body the moment your coffee spilled over the stack of printed reports just 5 minutes before the big meeting. Holy shit, no, no. You stood frozen, eyes wide, as the brown liquid soaked through the paper you had spent the entire night preparing. Your fingers trembled as you tried to pat it dry with tissues, only for the tissue to tear and stick to the wet pages. Oh, what am I? Ush. It was the third time this week something had gone wrong, and just like clockwork, the door opened and in walked John Jungkook, the CEO. You gulped as a shiver ran down your spine. His black suit looked like it was cut straight from confidence and tailored to perfection. His gaze swept across the room like a silent command. Everyone stood, everyone sat except you. He stopped at the head of the table and caught sight of the mess. Hannah, who just noticed, smirked, knowing damn well what was going to happen next. There was a moment of silence, then his brows arched, that subtle lift that said more than shouting ever could. What is this? His tone was dry and disapproving. You opened your mouth to explain. The cup, I didn't mean to. He stared at you a beat too long, not with anger, worse with pity, or was it disappointment? He exhaled quietly and sat down. Miss Vine, I think you should consider staying away from coffee at work. It always seems to ruin things for you. Heat bloomed across your face as you looked down and bowed in embarrassment as everyone was looking at you. I'm sorry, sir, I'll print out another you had all night. He interrupted, and 5 minutes before a presentation, you decided to test gravity. The team snickered quietly. You wanted the floor to open and swallow you whole. Jungkook turned to Hannah, seated like royalty beside him. Miss Hannah, please share your copy. She didn't even try to hide her smirk as she handed it over. Of course, sir. I anticipated a situation. You gritted your teeth. Jungkook glanced at the pages and then at you again. You might want to keep your coffee far from work documents or perhaps far from work, period. The words stung. You again lowered your gaze. Understood, sir. He continued flipping through the report, indifferent, but then just as you were about to disappear into the chair, his voice came again. Spilling coffee once is a mistake, twice is carelessness, 3 times and more that becomes a pattern. You swallowed hard. I'm sorry, I'll fix it. You whispered. He didn't respond but did look at you. This wasn't the first time you had messed up in front of Jungkook. There was the time you were asked to present a marketing concept and the slides refused to load because someone had swapped the file. You didn't find out until later that the actual file was renamed and hidden. Hannah had oddly close to your computer before the meeting, but you had no proof. Or when Jungkook had walked into the office and found you on the floor, trying to pick up spilled data sheets that flew everywhere because you accidentally opened the window during a windy afternoon. You're not careless. Your friend Jisoo tried to console you. You had just cursed around him. But the truth was you admired Jungkook, his commanding presence, his sharp mind, the way he controlled a room with a single glance. He was the definition of perfection and that terrified you. At times it seemed like he hated you, his cold stares, his lack of patience, how he never once acknowledged your efforts, but deep down you wished he would see past your clumsy exterior. You worked late always. You volunteered for tasks no one wanted. You sent detailed emails. You tried, but with Jungkook around, something always went wrong. And Hannah, she was like a storm in heels, always on time, always polished, always taking credit for everything. While she was explaining, her tone was drenched in pride, her words laced with the kind of confidence that screamed, I'm the CEO's favorite. She held the clicker like a trophy, flipping through slides with a dramatic flair, emphasizing every detail as if she had single-handedly saved the company. But Jungkook didn't look at her. Her gaze slowly drifted across the table until it landed on you. You weren't even aware of it at first. You were too busy staring down at your hands, thumbs nervously circling each other, your heart still somewhere between your spilled coffee and shattered pride. As Hannah concluded her pitch, she shut off the screen and took a breath, clearly expecting applause or at least acknowledgement. Instead, Jungkook stood up. Straight and poised, he buttoned his blazer with a practiced ease, commanding attention without a word. All eyes turned to him. Thank you, Miss Hannah. We appreciate your efforts. Hannah's smile faltered slightly at the lack of enthusiasm, but she held her composure. Then Jungkook turned towards the rest of the room. Now, as most of you are aware, we have been in talks with BGM Corporation for months. A collective breath was held. This was the biggest potential collaboration the company had ever chased. The deal has officially been closed. We are leading their upcoming global campaign, the full creative strategy development and execution. Gasps, murmurs, stunned excitement followed, but Jungkook raised a hand, silencing them effortlessly. This project will define our future partnership. It requires more than just polished presentations. He let that hang in the air. It needs innovation, bold thinking, raw ideas. You felt his words settled over you. I expect a concept proposal in 72 hours. He added, looking out over the table, but his gaze paused for half a second when it passed you, not long enough to be noticed by others, but long enough for you to notice. And this time I want it handled by someone who doesn't just talk, someone who knows how to put in the work, even if they stumble along the way. There was a flicker in his eyes, not cold, not harsh, but pointed. A direct message veiled in corporate language. He didn't say your name, he didn't need to. You straightened in your seat, blinking slowly, your fingers no longer trembling. Let's see if the potential I have been noticing finally delivers. Jungkook finished, turning to leave, and just before stepping out, he added under his breath, loud enough only for those nearby to hear. Coffee and excuses won't be accepted this time. Your heart thudded in your chest. Without a second glance, he walked away from the room. As everyone started leaving slowly, a familiar, too sweet voice cooed beside you. You turned your head and found Hannah standing there, arms crossed, lips twitched into a mock pout. Seems like you're already out of the race, she said with a smirk. Coffee and excuses? Sounds like someone's reputation just got officially trashed in front of the whole team. You clench your fist under the table, your nails digging into your palms. He didn't even mention you. Guess some of us just aren't built for pressure. You were about to stand and say something sharp, something you might have regretted later, but Jisoo's hand gently grabbed your wrist, shaking her head in warning. You breathed through your nose, trying to calm the storm swirling in your chest, but you couldn't let it slide, not this time. You slowly stood, letting your chair slide back with a soft scrap. You are right, he didn't mention me. Hannah blinked, confused for a second. Because he doesn't need to. You tilted your head. He sees what others try to bury, including cheap tricks and swapped presentations. Her smirk twitched, cracking ever so slightly. So yeah, you added, stepping closer. Maybe I trip over my own feet sometimes. Maybe I'm not the storm in heels, but when this project is over and he chooses someone for that position, you leaned in just slightly. Don't act shocked when it's the girl with the coffee stain on her report. Hannah's jaw clenched. She let out a small scoff, clearly not expecting you to bite back. You'll regret that attitude. She hissed under her breath. You smile sweetly. Only if I lose, which I don't plan to. She stomped her foot, actually stormed it, before flipping her hair and striding out of the room with her heels clicking in agitation. Jisoo exhaled wide-eyed. Okay, that was hot. You laughed softly, the underline slowly settling. You had 72 hours. It was game on. The atmosphere in the office had changed. You could feel it in the buzz of keyboards and the way people whispered in corners, their eyes alight with ambition. Everyone was working on the project. Jungkook's announcement had thrown the office into a frenzy of late nights, rapid fire ideas, fierce silent competitions. The reward was too high. Being his secretary meant stepping into a position of power, visibility, and opportunity. It meant working by the side of the CEO himself. For many, it was a ticket to success. For you, it was something even more. A chance to prove yourself, especially to him. You had locked yourself in your tiny cubicle all morning, scribbling mind maps and tapping your pen against your notebook, trying to narrow down your pitch. You wanted something innovative, unique, but your mind was racing faster than your ideas could take shape. You finally decided to take a breather, coffee in hand again, decaf this time, just in case the universe had a grudge. The elevator dinged as you waited to go up to the conference floor, where you had planned to check the archive for past project files that could inspire your idea. The door slid open and there he was, John Jungkook, sharp in a grey suit, one hand casually in his pocket, the other holding his phone. His dark eyes slowly lifted from the screen. You froze, gripping your coffee like it was a shield. His brow lifted. Are you getting in or just admiring the view? Your breath caught in your throat. I. You stepped in, hesitating like a child about to sit beside their crush in class. I didn't want to disturb. It's an elevator, not my office. He cut in smoothly, not unkind but curt. He pressed the button for the upper floor without looking at you again. The silence wrapped around you. You watched the numbers blink overhead, trying not to fidget. Then his voice cut through the quiet. So, are you planning to participate in the project? Your lips parted, caught off guard. He hadn't asked anyone directly. Why you? You hesitated. I do have some ideas. You said, glancing down at your coffee, then quickly adding, though I have a track record of messing things up when it matters most. His gaze shifted to you, quiet but piercing. That's true. You're clumsy, you panic, you overthink. You blinked, caught between offense and honesty. But then you looked forward again, voice a little softer, thoughtful. But you also have something most of them don't. You tilted your head, which is? He didn't look at you, but his words were clear, instinct. Your breath hitched. You come up with ideas no one else dares to say out loud. You just don't back yourself enough to fight for them. You stared at him, surprised by how closely he had been watching you, not mocking, not dismissing, seeing. The elevator dinged. He stepped out but paused just enough to throw a glance over his shoulder. Let's see if you're still all coffee and excuses by the time I pick my secretary. And then he was gone. You stood there, heart racing, mouth slightly open. The elevator doors closed again, and just like that, your doubts were silenced. It wasn't just about proving yourself anymore, it was about showing him that the girl who always messed up might just be the one with the best idea. You had never felt more prepared in your life. Your idea, the Reclaim and Rise campaign, was brilliant, a multi layered strategy that tackled the brand's rebranding goals while introducing a sustainable initiative designed not only to drive numbers but to create impact. You had stayed up for nights, perfecting the design, preparing visuals, and practicing your lines. Jisoo had even helped record a voiceover. You were ready finally. The conference room burst with nervous energy as team members filed in. Hana sat poised, legs crossed, her signature red lipstick gleaming under the lights. You glanced at her briefly, surprised at how relaxed she looked. You took your seat, connected your laptop to the projector, and waited for the screen to come alive, but your heart stopped. The screen was blank, no visuals, no text, just a pale blue background. Just a pale, 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 blue back You clicked again, then again, nothing. Your fingers trembled as you opened your folders, empty. The files were gone. You opened the backup folder, nothing. What happened? You looked at her terrified. The screen is blank. My presentation is gone. A sick wave of panic gripped you as the room slowly fell into a hush. Jungkook entered. His presence pulled the air tight. He sat down at the head of the table, expression unreadable. You swallowed hard and looked around. Hana was adjusting a necklace, calm as ever. Your lips parted to speak, to ask for time, anything but just then. If Miss Ryan is not ready, I would like to present an idea I have been working on. Hana's voice rang through the silence. You turned sharply. What? Jungkook gave her a nod and Hana walked to the screen confidently, plugging in her own drive, and there it was, your entire campaign. Same title, same visual flow, same tagline, reclaim and rise. You stared in horror as she began to speak, word for word, everything you had written, every strategy you had so carefully developed, every point that had kept you awake at night. She stole it. She took your idea and did it with the smell of someone who knew she would get away with it. By the time she ended with a smirk, I believe this could really set our brand apart in the market. The room erupted in applause. You were frozen, but not for long. You stood up, your chair sliding back with a soft screech, heart pounding, palms sweating. That's my idea, you said, voice echoing into the tense room. Hana's head turned slowly, her lips curling into a smirk. Sorry, what was that? You didn't back down. That presentation, the campaign, every word you said, that's my idea. Whispers floated around you, a few gasps. The tension crackled. Jungkook's gaze sharpened, shifting between you and Hana. Excuse me, what the hell are you saying? You know exactly what I mean. You said louder. That's the Reclaim and Rise campaign. I created it. You stole it. Hana gave a laugh laced with venom. Oh please Ryan, you show up with empty slides and no backup plan and now you're accusing me of theft? Maybe if you spend less time spilling coffee and more time working, you would actually have something to present. Laughter rippled across the room, but not from Jungkook. Ryan, are you sure you're not lying? You looked at him, tears were in your eyes now. I'm not lying, that was my idea. I worked on it for nights. I had everything ready until my files mysteriously disappeared this morning. You looked at Hana, and you have been smug ever since. Hana scoffed. Why, seriously? This is pathetic. You had nothing and now you are trying to accuse me because you are embarrassed in front of the CEO? Maybe try actually preparing next time instead of crying sabotage. You turned to Jungkook, heart sinking. His face was unreadable. Sir, your voice cracked slightly. Please believe me. I know how this looks. I know I messed up in the past, but this time I didn't. This idea, it was the first time I truly felt confident in something I made, and now she's using it like it's hers. Your voice dropped to a whisper. I thought maybe you would have already decided I was a failure, that maybe I wasn't worth trusting, but I'm telling you the truth. I swear on everything. Your eyes flickered up to meet his. For a second you thought he was going to dismiss it, that he would side with Hana. She was polished, composed, convincing. She always played the part perfectly, but then he leaned forward. Let's test it. You blinked. What? He turned to Hana, who now looked slightly uneasy. Tell me, Hana, what metric were you planning to use to track engagement in phase 2 of the campaign? She blinked. Phase 2? Yes, Jungkook said, his tone was sharp. You know the phase you presented just now? I mean, obviously, we would check engagement through reach and online traction. She fumbled, licking her lips, and maybe follower growth. The room grew still. Jungkook turned his gaze to you. Ryan, you breathed in. We planned a 3-phase metric. Phase 2 would track behavioral conversation via micro-analytics, time spent on the campaign page, click heat maps, and opt-in survey feedback. The goal wasn't just reach, it was resonance long-term. Silence stretched for some time, then a slow nod from Jungkook. Exactly what I wanted to hear. He turned his eyes back to Hana, and the chill in them could have frozen fire. You didn't create this. You can't even explain it. Hannah's face paled. Wait, no, I might have forgotten that part, but you forged your way into someone else's work. That's not only unethical, it's disqualifying. He stood up. You are fired. Hannah's breath hitched. You don't mean that. I'm one of your best. You were. His tone didn't shift. Leave. Security began to move. Hannah shot one last glare at you, teeth clenched but didn't dare speak. Once she was gone, you stood there, still breathing heavily as if your lungs hadn't caught up to the moment. You turned to Jungkook, heart still pounding. Thank you. He stood up, buttoned his suit, and looked directly at you. You don't need to thank me for standing by the truth, he said, then with a faint curve of a smile added, but I do need someone who doesn't let others walk over them. Report to my office first thing tomorrow, Secretary Ryan. You blinked. Secretary, for the first time you saw a real smile on his face. You earned it. And with that he walked away, leaving behind silence, stares, and you standing in the center of the room, finally being seen not as the girl who messed up, but the woman who rose.